This week in Las Vegas marks the year anniversary of a national tragedy. What have we learned in the wake of 9/11?
Will Las Vegas gaming and tourism economy ever fully recover? And how are the FBI and Metro protecting us from the potential for terrorism in our city?
Those stories, plus a new way to get involved in our program This Week in Las Vegas, coming up next.
Welcome to This Week in Las Vegas with John Daly and Jan Jones. A look at the issues, the culture, the entertainment that drives our city.
Good evening, and we're glad to be back after our summer break. Hope you guys had a good summer too. Welcome to This Week in Las Vegas. I'm John Daly.
And I'm Jan Jones.
And as you all know, it was a year ago this week, hard to believe, when our nation endured the worst attack on U.S. soil.
But despite the horrific loss of life and innocence we all suffered, Americans refused to stay down. Recovery from 9/11 is slow but steady. It
looks like business as usual on the Las Vegas Strip. Many of the resort employees who were laid off in the wake of 9/11 are back at work, but looks can be deceiving.
Yes, and actually, according to a study released this week by the Milken Institute, Las Vegas now has 29,000 fewer jobs because of the attacks. But that's an improvement over the original estimate that we could lose up to 42,000 jobs.
And of course, the airline industry has been the hardest hit. It lost 87,000 jobs in the wake of 9/11. However, Americans seem to be getting over their fear of flying. At McCarran Airport, passenger counts are slowly returning to normal, and security measures many found intrusive are now seen as routine.
And I think people still remember they want to be safe. They want to go back to the feeling that they had pre-9/11 of last year, which was, again, a matter of convenience. Hop on a plane the way we used to hop in a car. And they want to feel that again. I mean, as Americans, we want to feel that. And so here we experience really great patience and understanding of all the new measures that have been implemented.
And tighter security measures at McCarran include everything from complete baggage checks to making travelers take off their shoes. Now, the airport has been able to keep wait times to a minimum by adding more security check lines there.
Yeah, it's not. I'm always stopped. Always stopped. While right. While personal security concerns are easing at McCarran, our state's financial security is still in jeopardy in the wake of 9/11. This past fiscal year was the worst year-over-year performance in 17 years for Nevada casinos. Casino win dropped nearly 4% statewide, and the Strip alone saw a win drop by about 7%.
And that is bad luck for Nevada. Gaming and sales tax revenues fund nearly half of the budget, and gaming revenues are expected to remain sluggish for a couple of years. Meanwhile, Governor Gwynn's Budget Task Force is looking for ways to expand the tax base. He plans to announce the group's recommendations after the November elections.
Joining us now for the latest on the state of our state's economy is Nevada Lieutenant Governor Lorraine Hunt. Lieutenant Governor Lorraine, how are you?
I'm fine, Jan. Thanks for having me here.
It's a pleasure. It's interesting. I read in the paper just recently that the revenue crisis is actually accelerating, and the governor now says that we need to take an action immediately. This next legislature, the state can't hide from the fact anymore that revenues are declining and we don't have enough to meet services.
That is true. As you know, the governor has a task force studying all of our tax policies. November 15th, they are to have a report for us as to the recommendations.
It's, you know, the Nevada resort industry recently came out in support on a gross receipts tax. As you're aware, the Resort Association, well, Nevada casinos have paid over half of the state's budget for always. And what they're proposing is a gross receipts tax where all business, big business, would pay their fair share, although you would look for ways to protect small businesses because the Resort Association is very concerned that the small business owner, an individual, not be unfairly targeted. Is there a way that that can be structured?
Well, I certainly hope so, Jan, because as you know, 97% of the businesses in the state of Nevada are small businesses. And a gross business tax would significantly hurt them and in many cases put them out of business. Most recently I was in Elko at a mining convention, and we have a lot of small businesses up there, 200 and somewhere at this particular convention, with employees from 7 to 11 employees that make the little widgets that go into a piece of equipment, but there's a lot of jobs, particularly in the rural areas, that could be severely affected. The hotels, as we know, have had to pay a gross tax for a long time on gaming, which a lot of people don't understand, and the percentage that they pay in the state of Nevada is significant compared to other states. And as you know, they always quote the higher amounts that they pay in other states, but people don't realize in general that they have no, in Nevada, there is no exclusivity like they have in these other states. And I try to tell people, if you had the only market in town, wouldn't you be able to pay a little bit more? So there's an understanding and educational process that has to happen with people in general on this tax issue. And I hope that whatever we do, that it's going to be long-term and well thought out for the implications, because as you know, I chair of the Nevada Commission on Economic Development, and we're trying to bring new businesses into the state, particularly high-tech businesses, and our pro-business climate is very attractive and to them, and we don't want to destroy that element, but by the same time we have educational needs, we have infrastructure needs, and we do need to find some new sources of revenue.
Exactly. I mean, people, if they're moving to the state, they're going to look at the educational system, they're going to look at the quality of life, particularly with high-tech, or they're not going to be interested in moving their families here. And I think one of the real challenges for legislators will be that in other states, big banks, big builders, retailers, car dealers, supermarkets all pay a tax. And in Nevada, forever, they really have paid nothing. And I guess the question is, they're part of this community. How do we make sure that those that have made great profits and benefits from Nevada pay their fair share in the future so that we all benefit? And at the same time, exempt the small businessman who really can't afford that kind of
well, I'm hoping that's what the task force will be coming up with. I'll be working closely with them once I see the exact plan. I've been following some of the preliminary discussions. Let me give you an example of a gross business tax, and this is my concern for small businesses. As you know, I'm in the restaurant business. Independent restaurateurs, they're like a dying breed. And throughout the entire state, we have many ethnic restaurants, small little mama papa operations. I'll give you an example. A restaurant, for example, could do $1 million in gross, and maybe on a net, that means what they actually put in their pocket, maybe 0 or 1 or 2%, and yet they may employ 30 people. A jewelry store, for example, could take in $1 million in gross and employ 2 or 3 people, and their net profit could be significantly higher. So it's going to be, it's more complicated than it seems on the surface. So I'm hoping that once we get the recommendations from the task force, we can look at the, if they're suggesting a gross business tax, and maybe establish our own SIC codes as they do on a federal level, so that we don't hurt labor-intensive businesses, because the whole point here is, yes, we do need more revenues for education, for prisons and other state needs, and also at the same time, we don't want to do anything that's going to be destructive to jobs. We don't want to lose jobs, and I talk particularly in the rural areas, because they're hurting deeply, and also in our urban areas, because as you know, I'm using the example of small restaurants. Every street corner you'll see a little Thai restaurant, Mexican restaurant, on and on and on, and there's dry cleaners, other labor-intensive types. So we have to look not just at the gross, but how many people do they hire? Are we hurting and injuring those small businesses and putting people out of work?
Well, it's going to take a lot of political will, but when we're looking at anywhere from a $600 million to $1 billion budget shortfall over the biennium, let's hope our elected officials are up to the task.
And I do believe, and I have to say this, talking to Carol Villardo, who is just a great resource,
she's great,
and all the others that are on the task force, I think that they are looking at a very broad-based way of collecting taxes. So not one industry, not one person, not one special interest group gets the brunt and is destroyed, that everybody along the line, those that haven't paid, are going to come up to the level where they should be paying, and that it's broad-based enough that no one will be hurt significantly.
Well, it's going to be an interesting legislative session. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We'd also like to tell you, send your emails to the address on your screen, This Week in Las Vegas, yahoo.com. And we'll also be using this email address to pass along free tickets and special giveaways from local resorts. First, what have we learned in the wake of 9/11? The top 2 terrorism experts in our city will join John next.
Well, the FBI and Metro Police are working together in an unprecedented fashion to keep us safe from the threat of terrorism. Joining us now with the latest on their efforts are Roy Handley, the Special Supervisory Agent in charge of the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force, and Commander Bill Conger, head of the Metropolitan Police Department's Office of Homeland Security. Gentlemen, great to have you here with us.
Thank you for the invitation.
Who has jurisdiction over this task force?
Well, it's an FBI-led, or the FBI has primary jurisdiction over the task force.
Okay, and how's it going so far? I mean, usually
It's going very well so far. I think people realized after 9/11 that we're all in this together, and we need to work very closely together to go forward in the community and to protect the community and make it safe. And post 9/11, the efforts of the FBI and the Metropolitan Police Department, and in fact all of the local jurisdictions, has been working very closely to ensure the safety of this community.
And really, it's filtering down really from the federal government, because federal agencies weren't working together before 9/11, and now you're seeing it really across the country. Are you finding that it has been successful, or can you even tell it's been successful?
Go ahead, Roy.
It's been very successful, I feel, to date. We have just vamped up the JTTF, the Joint Terrorism Task Force here in the state of Nevada. We've invited all the agencies, both federal, state, and local, to join us in our efforts to combat terrorism. Our main mandate for the JTTF, though, is prevention, which is extremely hard to measure. I mean, you may actually prevent an act that you're unaware of simply by going and talking to the right people at the right time.
It's tough to rate success in many respects, as long as nothing has happened. Let's talk about threats that could be here in Las Vegas. Obviously, people know that there's Nellis Air Force Base. They also know that there are so many tourists here. Are these terrorists, are they actually looking at Las Vegas? Do we know that?
It would be speculation on our part, John, and we are a very large community. We're a tourist community. It's well chronicled that we had the 5 individuals here in Las Vegas pre 9/11. It's speculation on what they were here for. We don't know. I don't think that we are any more or any less of a threat, or have any more or any less of a threat than any other community of our size in the United States.
To expand on what Bill is saying, I agree that the Las Vegas Valley is no more vulnerable to a terrorist threat or terrorist activity than any other major city in the U.S. Obviously, with our high visibility of tourism here in the state of Nevada, it's an area of interest for the FBI, as well as working closely with the state and local governments to ensure that we do prevent these acts, as well as, should something occur, of course, we'll respond in kind.
Obviously, the Twin Towers was a symbol for Al-Qaeda, for the Taliban, because it talked about American power. Does Las Vegas make any connections to them? I mean, would they actually say, we really hate Las Vegas too? I mean, it was very apparent, obviously, with Twin Towers. Is it apparent with Las Vegas as far as those type terrorists, or can you even answer that question?
That would be very difficult to answer, John. We are a worldwide focused community. We are a community that people of all ethnic races and generations come to visit, to gamble, to have fun. Whether we are a target because of that would be speculation on our part. We certainly are doing what we can to prevent that, and working very closely with the FBI to prevent that. That's the part of the equation that Homeland Security focuses on the most.
Okay. Are people becoming complacent? And if you can both give me an answer, yes or no, on that. And whether it's yes or no, what can people do? What do you need people to do in the public?
The first thing I think we need to do is to go on about our normal everyday lives. We cannot let a terrorist threat interrupt our daily routines. That's the best thing that we can do. I would advise people to be a little more cautious with their security, be more aware of their surroundings as they would normally do for any other type of a crime.
Cautious, what do you mean, like putting your security alarm on, making sure your doors are locked in your car? I mean, what are some of the things that are they simple things?
Oh yes, they're very simple things. Just to be more aware of your surroundings, I think, is the biggest thing that will stop a perpetrator from committing a criminal act against a person. Walking down a dark alley, for instance, at 4 a.m. in the morning when you've never been there, that could possibly cause a security concern for yourself, for your own safety.
Okay, yes or no, are people complacent?
I would say no.
No, okay. What do you think, people complacent?
I don't think so. I think people are very aware of 9/11. They have done a very good job of getting on with their daily lives, and they're going forward with that. The governments have stepped up, local, state, and federal governments have stepped up to help protect communities, and that protection allows people to be a little more relaxed going forward. But as far as complacency, I don't think so. This is going to be with us for a long time, and people feel every time they see those photographs, every time they see the footage on TV, that brings it back very quickly, and I don't think we're complacent at all.
Yeah, especially coming up this week. I got to think there's a lot of colleagues that were in your ranks that have become security chiefs at some of the casinos. Is that helpful for you guys?
Oh, I think it absolutely is. It brings a level of training and expertise that the Bureau and as well as Metro could bring to the industry, the tourism industry here in the state. With the advanced training that the FBI provides to our security people within house, we can bring that expertise over.
And you find it's easy just to pick up the phone?
It's very easy to pick up the phone and call the directors of security at most of the major hotels, and the ones that don't have FBI or Metro are in the loop very quickly. It's very easy, and when you call a hotel, if they know who you are and have worked with you, there are several managers out there that I've worked with for my entire career, and that ability makes it very easy to contact them and let them know about potential issues.
Do you talk to them a lot? There's a lot of conversation?
Have quite a bit of conversation.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. Hopefully we won't have to have this conversation much longer. Hopefully everything will be safe and sound. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you
Appreciate
for the
it.
invitation.
And again, we want to hear from you. The Nevada Resort Association sponsors this week, and we would like to know what topics you would like us to cover and the people you'd be interested in hearing from. Send us your comments and suggestions for This Week in Las Vegas to the email address on your screen. It's thisweekinlasvegas@yahoo.com. And still ahead, fine dining at a resort better known for clowning around. This week's Epicurean experience is up next.
If you love great cuisine, then you're going to want to check out the newest hotspot at the Rio Hotel. Award-winning chefs Wendy and Michael Jordan opened their second Rosemary's restaurant this week, and it's just in time. The Jordan's West Sahara restaurant is always packed.
Why are our stomachs growling at this portion of the show?
It's such a great restaurant.
Well, another locals' favorite is revealing a well-kept secret. If you've got champagne tastes, Circus Circus is the place.
Every weekend, the steakhouse becomes one of the highest quality, lowest cost brunches in town. Chef Eric Rutsky shows us the transformation.
Circus Circus Steakhouse. Find out what everybody's talking about. Our grill is a mesquite grill that's kind of made our restaurant stand out for the last 13 years, winning all sorts of awards in towns, the GOT survey. It's kind of our own little best kept secret here at Circus, but I think everybody found out about it now since we're winning all the awards. They're cooking petite fillets off the grill, so you can have that same experience in the morning if you can't come out to eat us dinner at night. Walking into the our brunch over here, we have an array of domestic and imported cheeses and some fresh cut fruit, as well as an omelet station here that will cook your omelets fresh to order. For $24.95, you're having everything from crab legs to shrimp, from prime rib to filet served to your tableside, gourmet arrangement of desserts, and champagne at an unlimited amount. I mean, that's an excellent price, you know, and the service is impeccable to boot. And we make these fun-shaped waffles, hearts, diamonds, miscellaneous, so you feel like you're still in the casino. And the best way to find out why the steakhouse is so good is to ask people that I see come here every week.
We've been to other champagne brunches in town, and the values here, you can't beat it. You can't beat it for the quality of food and the atmosphere and everything. There's no way you can beat it.
And they just make you feel so at
For any
home.
place.
And then if you still have room at the end, we have this delicious array of fresh baked pastries, cakes, chocolate-covered strawberries, chocolate-covered cherries. I don't think we miss anything out here to make you feel at home and enjoy this occasion.
Looks good, doesn't it?
It looks too good. Well, the Las Vegas Strip, as you know, is packed with tremendous restaurants. Now, if there is one that you're particularly interested in or a chef you would like to meet, let us know. Send us an email at the address on your screen. Again, it's thisweekinlasvegas@yahoo.com.
Up next, you'll meet a gaming employee who turns trash into treasure. What most properties throw away, he uses to make people smile. Now, you've probably seen those gorgeous flower arrangements in the resorts along the Strip, but it may surprise you to know that at the end of the day, those flowers are simply thrown away.
Hard to believe, but at the Monte Carlo, the bellman there, Jim Barlow, honors his mother's memory by taking what some would consider trash and turning it into treasures.
Cheers. Hope to see you again.
For nearly 5 years now, Jim Barlow has been working 2 jobs. After a full shift as a bellman at the Monte Carlo, he heads downstairs to the hotel's florist shop.
All these two?
Thanks to Jim, flowers from the Monte Carlo and hotel guests get a second chance to make someone smile. Every week, Jim takes the best of the bunch to the Nathan Adelson Hospice. There, the bellman becomes a volunteer florist, arranging to bring a little joy to cancer patients and their families.
Many times I've had people come up to me, or nurses say, you know, the patient wants to talk to you, and they say thank you for the flowers. And sometimes there's nobody else for them there. So at least I have something to make their day a little better.
Jim's mom was a hospice patient. He delivers the flowers in her honor.
I believe what Jim is doing just touches people's lives. People at the end of their lives, when they're facing their end of their lives, the smallest thing can be like a miracle to them. To have somebody care enough to take some time out of their day and to come in to help our patients in any way is just incredible.
But Jim doesn't see his efforts as incredible. He says the flower deliveries wouldn't be possible without help from his bosses at the Monte Carlo and his colleagues on the bell desk. And he sees the flowers as the least he can do for people whose lives have meant so much to someone else.
I think it's important to me just to make that connection, that difference, that, you know, here in such a sad thing, to see some joy or whatever, happiness for a moment or whatever, instead of being so sad.
Very nice.
Yeah, that's really nice. This Week in Las Vegas is sponsored by the Nevada Resort Association, and we want this show to be about you, the people who live and work right here in the Valley.
Now, we want to cover the stories that matter to you, so send your suggestions and comments, but please be nice, to our email address, thisweekinlasvegas@yahoo.com. Not only are we going to use your input, we'll also use that address to pass along free tickets and special giveaways from your favorite resorts. Again, send us your emails to thisweekinlasvegas@yahoo.com.
And thanks for joining us this week in Las Vegas.
We'll see you back here next week.